Welcome to another episode of the Antifragility Reframe podcast. I'm Dr. Frank L. Douglas, your host. And today, my guest is Dr. Matthew Harmody, and he will be sharing with us his journey. He is an author, Ascending America. He will share his journey as he moved from being an engineer to an emergency medicine specialist to becoming a kidney donor advocate. And he will tell us how that ascent, in the real sense, has helped him to be anti-fragile and make many others anti-fragile. Dr. Hamady, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Well, as I set this up, could you launch into telling us a bit of your journey?
Absolutely. I'd love to. So, as you had mentioned, I started out as an engineering student in chemical engineering and went into working in the oil industry in corporate America. But during that education, I received an unforgettable phone call from my mother. She was informing me during my week of final exams that she had taken my father to the Cleveland Clinic, of course, against his will. He was not one to frequent physicians. And so I knew it was serious just hearing that statement. Then she went on to tell me that they found his kidneys in complete failure and that they were putting him on emergent dialysis to save his life. And at the time, I had no experience in medicine. I had no idea what dialysis was. Um, I had so many questions to be asked. Unfortunately, my mother wasn't really in a position to answer them. But yes, so that was the beginning of my journey. My father, who was a former Cleveland City Councilman, outdoorsman, very active Korean War veteran, um, just began to gradually decline in his overall health once he was placed on dialysis. And he went through that experience, and I got to watch it firsthand for about 9 years. And at that point in time, after a failed deceased donor kidney transplant, he really had enough of that lifestyle, and he became weaker and weaker, more frequent hospitalizations, being unable to do the things that he loved to do. He decided that he was not going to take dialysis any longer and essentially withdrew care. And as I'm sure everyone knows, that leads to a very quick and
No.
relatively immediate death.
Yeah.
And that process also involved his consideration for living kidney donation at the time. I'm the oldest sibling, and I have had two uncles at the time. We would have been the most likely candidates, but my father did not want to consider a living kidney donation. He felt that at age 50, when this all started, that he had lived a full life, and he didn't want to jeopardize anyone else's life, especially other family members. And I
So,
always thought,
wait, how did that change your view of life?
I my dad was a pretty strong personality, and I grew up in that household. He was strict but fair. He emphasized hard work, sacrifice. Everyone helps each other, and it it was always a father-son relationship until he became ill, and we came, interestingly, a little bit more equals as his health declined. But there just wasn't much debate in the household. My father was also an attorney, so generally what he said went, and we never really talked about it in any great detail. He just was quick to close it down. And my mother and father raised me, and I thought it was probably one of the first opportunities of significance that I could turn the table, so to speak, and help one of my parents. And I just felt a little helpless not being able to do so.
So is that what led you to medicine?
Yes, I found myself in the School of Medicine library learning about dialysis. It helped being a chemical engineer because a lot of those processes are pretty similar to what I learned as an engineer. And I was able to educate my father and my family about dialysis and the process. And yes, after his death, I really found corporate America less and less appealing as I rose through the organization. I wanted to do something that made a bigger difference in people's lives. And one of my first lessons in life is always listen to what your mother tells you. She always thought I should have been a physician. But it took me until age 30 to go back to medical school and realize that mother's always right.
The reason I'm laughing is that I did a PhD in physical chemistry. And I remember when I went home, I'm from Guyana, very proud of my PhD and told my mother that, I had gotten a doctorate and tried to explain to her what this was all about. She asked one question, uh, do you take care of sick patients? And I said, no, I'm not that type of doctor. She says, well, then you're not a doctor.
Oh boy.
So, mother is always right.
Yes.
So tell me, what sort of things during your early days as an emergency medicine physician, what types of experiences you had that impacted the rest of your journey as you continued?
I think, like most specialties in medicine, it's a marathon and it's physically and emotionally draining most every shift. And I grew up as a distance runner and have always enjoyed endurance sports and still do to this day. So I think that helped me um, build resilience. And not only that, it's just that you develop a mentality that what's the next challenge? It's like, okay, that one's behind me. What's the next one? And instead of kind of running and hiding or regretting another difficult patient or case, I think that just grew to make me a better physician and eventually a leader and president of our physician group. It also gave me a lot more empathy. I was surrounded with super bright and hardworking nurses and techs and other staff, as well as the rest of the medical staff at our hospitals. But also, every patient was different. And the beauty of emergency medicine, for maybe some of your listeners are not aware, is that we treat everyone regardless of their ability to pay. And I know that's a big issue in the United States, but I could easily have in one day, a child, 2-year-old running around the room that's, quite well, but mom's concerned. And it's kind of playtime, trying to build rapport with a 2-year-old sometimes can be challenging. And then the next room is, an elderly patient from a nursing home that's going to pass away shortly. Families at the bedside, maybe there's prayer being shared, and to be able to adapt, within minutes to those completely different scenarios. I just learned to really appreciate everyone's differences, and sometimes people were just there to be listened to, and sometimes they needed life-saving interventions.
Tell us a bit about Ascending America. What was that about?
So I'll start by saying a little bit about my donation. So back in 2017, I decided to become what's called a non-directed living kidney donor. So non-directed just means that I donated to a stranger, and the system in place in this country at many transplant centers is that it goes into a pool, and they match my kidney to the best available recipient so that it lasts longer or as long as possible. And at that time, of course, with some wisdom, being a little bit older, I realized that it wasn't so much a missed opportunity with my father, but that he made a selfless act to give me an opportunity to save someone else's life. And that was a very important experience for me. And initially, I was pretty private about my donation, um, but I had the opportunity to join 20 other living kidney donors uh, to summit Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa back in 2022. In fact, a similar group is just left the United States headed towards Tanzania, and they're going to uh, try to reach the same goal that we did, and that was summiting on World Kidney Day, which is March 12th. And the more I got involved with groups like that, the more advocacy work I wanted to do. And it was significant enough that I retired relatively early and essentially do advocacy work now full time. Now, not everyone can relate to Kilimanjaro and traveling to Africa. I had the good fortune to be able to do that. So we wanted to bring something home, closer to home. And 5 of us living kidney donors set out to set the Guinness World Record for climbing the highest peak in all 50 states in the shortest period of time. And the book of Sending America is about that journey from the planning to the trip. It gives the reader a front row seat as if they were with us on the entire journey, which took 41 days. You'll also read about each of our donation stories and those of our recipients. Personally, I think that's the best part of the book. And then finally, there's a section, couldn't help myself being a physician, to write about the transplant community. So you'll hear and understand a little bit about what it's like to be on dialysis. What does it take to be a living kidney donor? What's the future hold for kidney transplantation? People have probably read about xenotransplantation or transplanting, in this case, pig kidneys into humans and everything in
As
between.
you think about uh, what I call an anti-fragile life, namely facing difficulties and coming out stronger as you deal with those difficulties, what's one thing you would like to leave with us? But before I say that, I want to say
Mm-hmm.
something which will sound odd to the listeners, but you will understand how I mean it. Uh, as a physician myself, in some ways, I envy you because you have actually been able to live a very privileged life. And I think you understand what I mean by that. So, and I don't mean privilege in the sense of economics and finances. So,
Sure.
audience understands what I mean, but the opportunity to help others be anti-fragile, to do things that provide benefit for many people, to innovate and collaborate with others, to shift perspective mindsets that benefit people, and to have a growth outcome mindset. For me, is a privileged life, and I salute you for your opportunity for having been able to do that. So, what's the one thing you'd like to leave?
So, yeah, keep your eyes open, try new things, and don't perseverate in something that you don't fully enjoy or it's not making as big of a difference as you'd like to in this world.
Dr. Hamady, thank you very much. I really do appreciate all that you do for kidney patients.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you today.
Thank you.